Good morning and welcome to Sunrise Daily. I'm Ayo Makinde.
It's a beautiful Tuesday morning. I'm Kaduna-Abuja. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, endless issues that we always have to raise at all times, but then we'll go straight to the papers this morning again, and Mr. Akintobi joins us for the review today. He is the publisher of today's community newspapers. Thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Good morning. Always a delight to be here.
Okay, so the unending issues are here again. The Vanguard newspaper leads with insecurity, army overstretched. That's according to the Senate, and has a number of riders. Says army isn't supposed to be involved in civil security. Asks them to go after bandits and kidnappers. Driver shot. Mother, 3 children, 5 others abducted in Ondo. 3 feared dead. 150 vehicles. 50 shops destroyed in Lagos clash. You know, on the front pages of the papers yesterday, it was agog with at least 3 different insecurity issues from 3 to 4 different states. There was some records in Delta, in Katsina, in Kaduna. Those 3 I remember vividly, and I think 1 or 2 others, also happened yesterday. And then for us to be having this while we're still grappling with issues with the police, I don't know where we go from here.
Insecurity seems to be the order of the day now. It seems to be the norm and not the exception. And everywhere you look across the country, in Lagos here yesterday, there was a major skirmish in Mushin yesterday between various cult groups, and it seems to be that people have a perception that the police, the morale of the police is low. They're a bit demoralized. Maybe they're kind of intimidated a bit by what happened by the protests, and as a result, they're not working at optimum levels, which of course gives opportunity to bandits and a lot of other nefarious people to ramp up their activities in terms of insecurity. So you now find the army, which by its very existence is for external security. Army is not constitutionally empowered to have anything to do with...
Not even by training.
No, not by training. Nothing to do with engagement at a national level. But we're finding the army is already engaging with Boko Haram, is already engaging with banditry, because these things have overwhelmed the police over time. And so we've had to get the army involved in certain local skirmishes as well. And the army itself is now overstretched, unfortunately.
And then what then would happen is what the fears would be. The one you mentioned at Mushin is one where, the Vanguard newspaper says 3 feared dead, 150 vehicles, 50 shops destroyed in that Lagos clash. And usually, it's not that we don't know that these things are going to happen. We usually have that information, security, intelligence, they always say it. But then, how these things still happen is something that baffles a number of people. Anyway, you want to say something to that?
Indeed, I was just going to comment on the fact that we've been battling this insecurity issue for a very long time, and now it's taking different dimensions. It's of course the police is involved, the army is involved, and we don't seem to have the right solutions yet, because as opposed to de-escalating, it is escalating, and it's also getting multidimensional. So I think we need to actually take a very deep look and try and restructure the entire security apparatus. If it means replacing the service chiefs, if it means more funding. Senate is now complaining about the army is overstretched, they don't have enough money, their equipment, their training is outdated. So if we have those kind of issues with the army, imagine the systemic problems we have with the police as well.
But don't forget that the constables, they've been trained, and yesterday Dailies had it that they're waiting to be deployed. Do you think when they're eventually deployed, if they eventually deployed, do you think that might be a game changer in all of this?
Well, my understanding is they're supposed to be deployed to various communities across the country. So the question we should ask ourselves is what has been done with them that's any different from the existing apparatus? Were they trained differently? Have they been equipped properly? Are they motivated well? Their remuneration, their incentives, what are they? If they're coming in under the existing structure, we can't expect much more from them than what we're getting already. So it's not just a function of numbers. It's not just throwing more and more operatives at the problem. It's a matter of the quality and the training and the funding and the incentives. It's a whole package. to make a difference.
All right, right above the nameplate of the Vanguard newspaper, border closure not reason for maltreatment of Nigerian traders in Ghana. That's the way the Vanguard newspaper captions that story. It's ascribed to Dabire, the DG of NITCOM this morning, and in a number of issues we're also discussing that conversation yesterday, But then that issue of Nigeria and Ghana dates back many years. The fact that it's either sustained or shape-shifting definitely is something disconcerting.
It is, especially because when you look at the tenets of ECOWAS, that was supposed to foster economic cooperation to where these kind of things shouldn't happen, where whether in Nigeria here or in Ghana or any West African country, these type of disagreements are all captured under the understandings of this economic cooperative organization of these countries. And so when you see traders having problems in what supposedly should be a cooperating country under the agreement, it's more deep-seated and historical than just the fact that, for a government to wake up one day and say, you have to pay $1 million to be able to have a license to trade in our country, which is not captured anywhere in the ECOWAS agreement, and which is also something that's so unrealistic. People who are selling mobile phones and accessories and things who don't even turn over 1/10 of that are being asked to pay a license fee that's outrageous. So it's not really looking for the licensing fee, it's just trying to ask them to get out. The reason, ostensibly, unofficially, is because they're astute, smart businessmen who figured out how to undercut the local competition. They're selling more, they're profiting more, and the local person is suffering. So what we're seeing here is protectionism as opposed to actual cultural strife.
So it's beyond even the politics that some people also allude that is reason for the impasse of dealing with the real issues.
I think so. I really think that it has more to do with pure business. I think it is strictly an economic issue that the traders, the business people in Ghana have had it up to here because they can't compete, and they can't compete effectively against their Nigerian counterparts. So they're pulling their patriotic card and saying, look, you have to protect me, your citizen, against the depredations of a usurper who's coming from another country.
So are you in support of sending a plane or a bus for the traders to come back home?
Well, 753 of them have said they would like to be repatriated back to Nigeria. I think they found their way to go there on their own. I think it's their obligation and their responsibility to find their way how to get back here. But yes, we should welcome them back. They are people. They are patriots. They belong here. We should do everything we can to get them back here and settle them back home. As long as they've said they want to voluntarily come back, they see it's a hostile environment, it's not going to work for them. And if they're as astute businessmen as I imagine they are, they'll thrive here even more. So let them come back and help us develop our own country here.
Vanguard Sports has Eagles in redemption fight in Sierra Leone. Ambassador dangles cash for Leone Stars to beat Eagles. Well, I don't even know what a big game from that one.
Watching that match.
The euphoria was palpable. We have four goals up. Shut the TV, put out the lights, and let's go to bed. It's done and dusted. It's over with. And then you blink and you come back and it's suddenly 4-4. That was heartbreaking.
So are you rooting for the Eagles to maybe pull a win?
Without
what do you expect?
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
It's 2 against 1, yes.
Our boys will do us proud.
I don't want to say it yet.
Our boys will do us proud.
Okay.
They will make up for that.
Okay, we look forward to that.
Slip, yes.
Of course, we support our team, always. Take a look at the front page of a Daily Trust. The lead story concerns security also, but the angle is quite shocking. You see, kidnappers blocked Kaduna-Abuja road 4 times on Sunday. That's coming from the villagers. They raped our daughters. That's also coming from the villagers. 8 ABU students among abductees. Witnesses say more than 15 killed. The army and Kaduna government insists only 2 were killed, and you see bandits kill many in a Gabi village. Now this Kaduna-Abuja road has been in the news several times. Well, recently, it's not been in the news, and that's because it said, well, security has been deployed. We have patrol teams, the army, the police, back and forth. And, a lot of people opted for the rail. But gradually, I think people were going back to the roads since they felt that, security was back. But now you see that they actually blocked the road 4 times on Sunday, according to the account of villagers. And you wonder, where were the security operatives during that period?
The impunity with which the bandits operate these days lets you believe that security is completely ineffective, ineffectual, and non-existent. Especially that road is notorious. Yeah. And from time to time, we've always heard these kind of things happening. But for bandits to have the free-willing ability 4 times in one day, it means they have no compunction, no worries at all that they could be apprehended or that there could be any kind of reprisal from the security authorities. So it means, as I said earlier, we need to rethink our security architecture. This is out of hand now. Everywhere you look, it's insecurity. Everywhere you look, for bandits to be running riots with no restrictions whatsoever, speaks to the first duty of any government is the protection of life and property of its citizens. After that, then we start talking about welfare. And if at this point bandits can run riots 4 times in one day in the same place and they get away with it each and every time, it goes to show that the government is not meeting up to its primary obligation to the people.
Would you lay that at the foot of the security architecture or the security system, in the light of the call for state police, community policing, and all of those things?
It's a systemic issue, and it's not just a one-size-fits-all problem. It doesn't begin with just saying, let's deploy local police. Yes, I've always felt that police should come from where they police. They should know the terrain, they should speak the language, they should be familiar with the people. I think it will make intelligence flow better. It will make the police be able to relate better with their community. But it doesn't end there and begin there. It has to be a whole systemic shift. It has to do with the morale of the police. Many of them at this point are not ready to die for this country. They're not ready to put their lives on the line to secure lives and property because they don't feel they're appreciated enough. So it takes a lot more. There's also the issue of weaponry, training. There's so much more than just local policing. But I do think that will help to some extent if there is a local aspect to policing in Nigeria.
Yeah, the pictures on the front page show the kidnapped victims that were rescued, shot, a bus driver that was injured. Just right there for you. But right under the nameplate, you see how prices of bread, others raised inflation to 14.23%. You mentioned welfare to an extent, and it's not just onions now. This is across board. And we got latest figures from the MBS saying the inflation rate. We're getting to a record now. If we have this for a few more months, we'll get to a record. And you wonder, is there a slowing down of this?
Well, it wasn't unexpected that the inflation rate would rise. I'll tell you why. Because we've been hit by a triple whammy of so many things converging at one time that have had debilitating effects on the economy. For one thing, of course, there was a pandemic and there was a lockdown. Then there's the increase in energy prices. Then, of course, there's this whole fuel increase. There's so many things that have all come together to raise the cost of living. Now, when the CPI looks at inflation, what they do is they have a staple. They have a grocery cart where every month they take specific items, yam, onion, tomatoes, staples, and they compare the price month to month. Now, bandits have stopped farmers from harvesting in the north, so that has reduced the quantity of food that's able to come down south. And when you have a reduction in supply, price goes up.
Definitely.
And so these kind of things have been in the pipeline. The skyrocketing cost of food is not an overnight phenomenon. We've seen the indices, the underlying issues have militated towards this thing happening for a long time. So unfortunately, salaries are not rising concurrently. So it is a big problem in terms of the pocketbook of the average consumer.
Well, that's Daily Trust for you this morning.
Well, the Nigerian Tribune has this one: how Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine find affected petrol price. You're probably wondering how that is. The inside pages have the stories, pages 3 and 30 specifically. Says Nigerians will get used to petrol deregulation. NLC rejects fuel price hike, demands immediate reversal. Another COVID-19...
Or is there an or, else?
Maybe on the inside pages. Okay. Another COVID-19 vaccine, 94.5% effective. No core member in our 37 camps positive for virus. That's according to the NYSC. But the lead is quite exciting.
Because you see on the Daily Trust, 8 core members test positive for coronavirus.
And then perhaps this is a retraction on the part of...
okay, you know what? Inside pages, right?
Yeah, but which of these gets to you?
Well, I'm excited about the second vaccination coming out of America. And I think it gives us great hope that we will very soon be able to overcome this pandemic, this disease. Of course,
But you also know that I think it's the World Health Organization that said finding a vaccine doesn't mean that we end coronavirus.
No, I didn't say it would end. I said it will give us a better handle on it, because what it does is that the vaccine prevents you from catching it. It doesn't help those who already have it. It doesn't help the virus that's already in the system. It will prevent those who don't have it now from getting it. But remember, there are issues of logistics, distribution. There's 6 billion people in the world, and at best, maybe they can produce several million of these things per month. So it's going to take a number of years before the entire world can ever hope to be completely vaccinated. So it's not as if it will eliminate COVID. We still have to maintain security protocols. It just seems to reduce the ability of the virus to spread.
You know, from another angle, pardon me.
Yes.
Do you think this will have swung? If this had come before the US elections, I'm just thinking, do you think the results may have been different?
One of the things that is counted against outgoing President Trump is that his handling of the COVID pandemic was disastrous. They say he was a bit too nonchalant, a bit incompetent in handling it. So I don't doubt that that had some impact. Although I also think that the downward spiraling economy also played a role, because in America it's always about the economy. No president has ever been re-elected in America when the economy is on a downward spiral. So I think the economy played a big role. But it's quite possible that if this had come out, and I'll tell you why. Moderna yesterday was government funded as opposed to Pfizer that invested 2.5 billion of its own money. Moderna and a few others were given money by the US government. So President Trump could have beat his chest and claimed to have been responsible for finding this vaccine if this had come out before the election. Who knows what that might have done to his re-election prospects.
But the lead story is also very interesting. How Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine find affected petrol price.
Well, the Minister of State, Temipre Silva, said yesterday that once Pfizer announced its findings, it boosted the stock market in general, it boosted equities in general, and so oil stocks and oil prices went up. And what he's saying is once oil prices go up in a deregulated market, it affects the pump price. I think he was a bit economical with the truth, or perhaps he wasn't explaining clearly enough, because the point is, even when oil prices go up immediately, it doesn't affect the price pump immediately because there's stocks already in the pipeline.
2.9 billion liters according to the NNPC.
Absolutely. So that's why I said I think he was being a bit disingenuous by saying that, oh, the oil price goes up today, tomorrow it affects the price at the pump. There's processes that take place, and it'll take months for that uptick in the international oil market to reflect all the way downstream to the pump price. So I think it was more a thing about government sees that there's not a lot of public support for a price increase at this time, and they were trying to explain it away as best they could.
But, okay. But do you think that that explanation suffices for the average Nigerian?
No, I don't, because the timing is a bit awkward. I think when government decided to do deregulation, I don't think they engaged the stakeholders well enough. I understand the mechanics of deregulation, and I understand why it needed to be done. For example, the government doesn't have the money to uphold a subsidy. Besides that, the subsidy was going to the hands of a very few people. Granted, we shouldn't make excuses for the fact that the regime wasn't properly policed, but there was so much corruption in the subsidy regime that it ended up hurting the average man. So I understand why subsidy had to be done, but the populace wasn't carried along properly to where they would understand that a sacrifice was being required of us. Then again, the government didn't make its own sacrifices. I think they could have offered cushioning effects. Say, for example, we've raised the price of petrol to 170, but here's what we're going to do. We're cutting our own wages in half. All our allowances we're eliminating.
That would be good to see, right?
So that you could see that we're also making a sacrifice. And I think that would have been more, it would have been more amenable to the people's appreciation. People would have said, okay, you're asking something of us, but you're giving something in exchange. So there are things they could have done that would have made it more palatable to the average man.
Maybe they'll make that announcement today.
Yeah, wishful thinking.
Or tomorrow. We'll take a look at New Telegraph. COVID-19 vaccine also leads discovery liable for fuel price hike. FG, well, you've talked about that. NLC rejects increment, seeks immediate reversal. I'm still waiting for that, or else. Moderna, our vaccine is 94.5% effective against virus. So from 90 to 94.5%. Maybe the next one will be 100.1%. You see, US, Canada, Japan, EU, Israel order for vaccines. Well, Nigeria is here somewhere, especially because, of course, the WHO is ensuring that, other countries get access to this. So don't worry, if you don't see Nigeria on the front page.
It's in the others?
Maybe.
Somewhere.
Pages 3 and 4 of the New Telegraph this morning, and you see that story about inflation. But right under the big pictures, you see FG, CBN, National Assembly pledged to support Lagos rebuilding. Lagos really went through a lot this past few weeks, so rebuilding is definitely something we need right now, right?
Well, reverse fuel price hike now, Labour tells FG. That's how the Daily Independent leads the front page this morning of its own story. Reverse fuel price hike now, Labour tells FG, says there's limit to what we can bear. Nigerians will get used to deregulation, says FG. Well, I guess there's limit to what we can bear. Is the or else you're looking for? Or maybe not?
No, that's not. There needs to be, do this, else we'll do this. I don't think I caught that.
Okay. CBN plans new bridge bank to assist weak lenders. That's also right there on the front page. And then right above the nameplate, Afenifere Southwest governors on warpath over NSARS fallouts, and a number of other stories you'll find quite interesting right there on the front page of the Daily Independent.
Well, News Directs, rebuild Lagos. Sanwo-Olu cries to NAS, federal executive, others for help. Rules private stakeholders for partnership, CBN to provide cheap credit for affected businesses to rebuild and restock. That's coming from the vice president, because watching these people narrate the experience, how long it took them to even build these businesses, and now this is happening. Some of them, insurance can't help them because of the clauses and what have you. So seeing and hearing the vice president saying that, well, the CBN will come in. Do you think this is enough? Is there any other angle we're not covering with all this Rebuild Lagos initiative?
No, I think it's good that the federal government is stepping in. I also think the trust fund that was launched yesterday, which is seeking donations both from government and from private. Lagos took a very big hit, and Lagos being the economic nerve center of the country, when Lagos sneezes, the whole country catches pneumonia. So yes, all stops need to be pulled out. The senator for Lagos West repeated this long-standing call for Lagos to be given special status, kind of like the FCT has its own special status, because Lagos is so pivotal to the daily existence of this country that when what happened, when an incident like what happened in the riots and the protests happens, it really has a debilitating effect on our overall economy. Yes.
So you're saying if you have your 5,000 naira, give it to Rebuilding Lagos, your 1,000 naira, everybody should be a part
every
of
little
this.
bit helps. Everybody should be involved because it affects all of us at the end of the day. Every Nigerian is affected by what has happened in Lagos. So it's not just the organized private sector, it's not just the government, federal and state, it's us as individuals, because when Lagos thrives, we all thrive.
Well, I think those are facts and those are things that we can see. Let's hope there will be no politicking around that one over time. But we have to thank you very much, Mr. Dayo Akintobi, publisher, Today's Community News. Thank you so much for your time and thoughts.
Always a delight to be here.
All right, we're back in a moment to take on the issues for the day. Do stay with us.